Hello and welcome to DigiTalks. We have with us today Sascha Giese, Head Geek International at SolarWinds. Welcome, Sascha.
Hi there, and thank you for having me.
Sascha, we're here to talk about hybrid cloud, secure by design, and SolarWinds. How SolarWinds is making its presence felt with a lot of initiatives and a lot of cutting edge technology in the security field. So let's begin with hybrid cloud. Now, the hybrid cloud is the IT operating model of choice for 9 out of 10 enterprises. So how is SolarWinds helping businesses ensure a smooth and seamless cloud experience?
So one of the problems in a hybrid environment is that it usually grows over many, many years. And on-prem, you deal with legacy, very old infrastructure. And on the other side, you have the more modern cloud platform. And for the IT team in the background, it is very difficult to stitch those elements together as you look at different environments, different metrics, et cetera, So what we do is we have one solution that talks to the old and to the new. And the advantage is for the user, the IT professional, they just use one tool and have their whole environment in control, independently if it's on-prem, in a private cloud, in a public cloud, or maybe just like a SaaS solution, whatever. So without the need to jump between different dashboards, different tools, all is in one go, which makes it easier to use and much faster to discover and fix problems.
Correct. Now, what are some of the pain points when it comes to hybrid cloud implementation by enterprises?
So there's different ones. So one of them, I guess, is the complexity. As I just mentioned, there's loads of moving parts. Another one is cost, actually. So when, as an example, when an application is not performing so well, it is so easy to just throw more resources on it. So give it more CPU cycles, more memory, whatever. Clouds promise endless scalability, and users tend to use this, but they don't pay attention to what they have to pay afterwards, right? So it gets very costly very quickly, particularly as some cloud providers hide the billing element from the users, so they don't really see what it actually costs. So we have complexity, we have costs, and last but not least, there's always the element that you lose control over your own data because it's somewhere else, So that is a challenge too for businesses of all sizes, to be honest.
Absolutely. Now, hybrid cloud monitoring is becoming increasingly relevant today since it helps to ensure that distributed applications are functional and secure. So how is the cloud monitoring solution offering from SolarWinds ensuring comprehensive monitoring and visibility?
There is no generic way to talk to different cloud providers. So what we do is we use different APIs, basically third-party APIs, to talk to the cloud providers. So for Azure, for example, it's relatively simple. It's PowerShell. So we have an out-of-the-box integration, and customers just need a couple of mouse clicks to link Azure to our system. In AWS, it's a little bit different. They use an API called CloudWatch. So we use that API to talk to the system, right? So for each provider, there's a different way and a different technology. And it is important that a solution that should be beneficial for the business supports those various ways. And we do.
Absolutely. Now, effective network management has always been a challenge for smaller IT teams, but the truth is that the scenario is becoming increasingly complex. Now, how can SMBs make best use of their IT teams and make sure that their everyday operations are simplified without compromising on the quality of their infrastructure?
Yeah, you're right there. So it is a problem for smaller companies because they don't have those big IT teams where they have like subject matter experts on each single topic. What they usually use or utilize is IT generalists. Even if they have a bit of a network focus, they have to deal with network security, with network transportation, et cetera, all in one single person. Considering that there's lower headcounts, maybe shrinking budgets. It's not really nice for those companies or for the employees, actually. So what they need is tools that help them in their day-to-day. So, for example, with automation of repeating tasks, or at least make it super easy for tasks like changing a VLAN, for example. There's no need to dig into the CLI and do this all manually. With a couple of mouse clicks and maybe 30 seconds, the job's done. So it's very important to support them in their routine tasks, so they have more time for optimization of the business, for example.
Right. And now let's come to the Secure by Design initiative. What prompted this whole initiative from SolarWinds?
So in late 2020, SolarWinds became the victim of what was later known as the Sunburst attack. Mm-hmm. And basically what we figured is that as a software vendor, previously we used best practices in development. Best practices are the result of decades of experience. So you create software, you learn something, and you build those best practices. So what we figured is that those best practices can no longer deal with modern threat landscape. What we started is rethinking the whole process, not reinventing the wheel, but so we used input from different sources to basically start from scratch and build Secure by Design. In a nutshell, what it means is in the normal development process, security is more like an afterthought. There's other priorities. And in Secure by Design, you get the security analysts and experts right from the start into the same team where you actually start planning a software. So it is not an afterthought. It is built into the whole process from the very beginning. That is basically Secure by Design.
Right. Now, SolarWinds has always maintained that it's been on a journey towards becoming Secure by Design. So tell us how much of this goal has actually been implemented and what are the challenges there?
Well, I'm not sure if you will ever reach the ultimate goal because it's a process. It is always a process where we find things to improve. But the concept is basically laid out. To give you an idea, so usually in development, you have one line, a developer creates code, they ship it to a build server or a compiler, and the outcome would be an executable file. So what we do now in SolarWinds is we have one team who lays out these steps, and we ask them to create documentation. There's a second team who recreates the code based on the documentation of team one. To give you an analogy, if I'm in the kitchen and create a dish and write the recipe and I send you the recipe and you recook it, the result should be equally good or bad, right? So we have a third team which will continuously check if the code sent by those teams is absolutely identical. So that way we bypass someone alternating the code who's not authorized to do so. Obviously, yes, it was something new to the industry. There's a lot of lessons learned for us. And one of the challenges was actually that quite obviously it will slow down the development because it's such, it's far more complicated to create software that way, to say it this way. And it was a bit of a challenge also for our developers. You know, we all like to be creative, but we don't like documentation. We don't like taking notes of whatever we did. Well, we asked our engineers now to create the documentation, and it took a little bit of time for everyone to get used to it. But once you get the grip onto such a change process and you see the benefit, everyone is on board with it.
Absolutely. That is pretty much what I wanted to ask you, Sascha. Thank you so much for your insights on hybrid cloud and on Secure by Design. Thank you for taking the time.
Very welcome.